Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. We are back in War Thunder on the dev server, and it's time to have a look at the new premium vehicle that has come in for America. With the addition of Rank 8 also comes a new batch of Rank 7 premiums, and one of them is the M1A1 clickbait. Now the reason why it's called the clickbait is so people buy it, but also because it is actually based off of an M1A1, which you can see here says clickbait. It has a bunch of other kind of interesting little things, little insignias to make it different compared to the standard M1A1, mainly just decorational stuff though. There is a few, I suppose, additional pieces of armor in the form of these tracks, but nothing too crazy at the end of the day. It was kind of funny when they added the M1 KVT, because when they added this, one of the strong points that a lot of people pointed out was the fact that the vehicle that it was actually based on, the Vismod M1, was the M1A1. And now, instead, you can see why they didn't go for an M1A1 KVT. They already had the M1A1 clickbait, which they were waiting on releasing. So what is this vehicle? Well, it's an M1A1 HC. We already have a HC in the game right here, and it is just a straight copy of it with more stuff on it. It doesn't really have access to too much. It has access to the 120mm M256, which you'll be used to on pretty much all of the Abrams, 2-plane stabilizer, good targeting speed, and overall an incredibly good gun. It also has a 12.7mm on the top of it, plus two 7.62mm, an M240 in the coax, and then also one right here for the loader side of things. The crew is a 4-man stack, just like every other Abrams, like the driver here, loader, the commander with fire control, and also the gunner, which sits here. The gunner optic is the same, and also, I believe it should have quite a nice commander's view, which is quite cool. Something that does make this thing different to some of the other Abrams that are already in the game is the active protection system. This one actually has the ANVLQ8A. Doesn't really do anything, if I'm honest with you, at this type of BR. Doesn't offer a lot of protection. Very much is designed for more lower BRs, which isn't too good. It does have the really nice blowout panel ammo rack though on the back of it, which really should be loaded on the Abrams. It pretty much means that unless you're shot directly in the front, it is quite hard to die with just one hit in this. It does have the rump in the trunk though, just like a lot of other Abrams, is this little angle here, meaning that you can't aim behind you. Which kind of sucks, but that is the same with all of these. It has the good reload on the 120, it has the good gun depression, it has all of the good factors of a kind of M1A1 or just an Abrams in general. The modifications it gets access to is the M829A1, which is just worse than the A2, but not too bad, and also it has a laser rangefinder. It also has thermals for the gunner, but not for the driver or tank commander, which is the big difference between it and the M1A2 Set V2, which only sits one slight BR bracket above it, which is kind of nuts. It doesn't have the additional weight of the M1A2 Set V2 though, only at 61.2 tons with exactly the same engine, meaning that it can motor around a little bit better and get its gun into position a little bit quicker compared to the Set V2. Does that mean it's better though? Probably not. I mean, it has one less 50 cal, it has much worse thermals, and also it has a worse round, which can make a massive difference in the grand scheme of things. You will have seen all of the armor before on the M1A1 HC. If you don't have access to the dev server, you can just have a look at the M1A1 HC in the standard tech tree in the game, and it will give you the exact armor values of what the clickbait will have access to. One of the things to also mention about this vehicle is it is a pre-order pack. So if you want to pick it up, it is available on the Gaijin store with some pre-order bonuses before the update comes out. This is also kind of a surefire one, because it's just like kind of a copy and paste of a vehicle that's already in the game. So it's not something that's gonna fly out at you and be completely different to what you imagine. You can literally see how it is in the game, by how it's played, and it's basically just a standard Abrams. The interesting thing for me is when we have a look at its camos, its standard camo is actually a desert one, and then it has all of the others which are around the place, but all of the kind of writing and insignias still fit on them, which I think is actually kind of cool, meaning that it still keeps that personal touch no matter what different type of camouflage you decide to have on the vehicle itself. I just wish that when it came to this one, its standard camo was a little bit more wacky. I understand that the creativeness comes from the decoration stuff that's on top, but I don't find that as interesting compared to what the other part of it is. I much would prefer a little bit more of a pizzazziness, but then again, I suppose a user skin would come in for it. When, in terms of research, it is at rank 7, meaning that it would be able to research the whole of the tech tree by itself. This is probably not advisable. It's usually better to run a few other vehicles with it. It does luckily have the HSTVL with it, and also the M1A1 HC, plus, you know, the IPM1 and the M1A1, so you have a pretty solid ground lineup to run it with. And then also, you have access to some pretty niceties as well in terms of aviation. So it's not alone in the area. Like, it can still work very well by itself and do okay. The decorations are not part of the model, so I don't think you can hit them, but who knows, maybe in the future you'll be able to knock them off, kind of like the standard decorations that you see on other parts of the game, which is quite cool. But let's be honest, what are you getting out of this vehicle? It's kind of the same as the M1A2 SEP V2, right? It is a standard vehicle with standard parts, which we've already seen in the game. We know it works, we know it's good, all of these different stuff. The only question you have to ask yourself is, are you in a position as an individual to be able to play a vehicle which is, well, I suppose the same as others, but also a step below the standard BR of top tier, meaning that you are constantly going to sit at a BR where you will be, you know, attacked by vehicles that are just better than you, whether it's the T80 BVM, the T90M, even the M1A2 SEP V2, which is just a better version than you. And if you're okay with that, if you're okay with going into those matchups and knowing that you are going to be at a disadvantage and then coming out at a, you know, better click, then that's great. But if you're a newer player who is not as used to those BRs, a vehicle like this will just become cannon fodder, just like stuff like the M1A1 AIM does in the squadron vehicle category. It's one of the problems that a lot of these vehicles had when certain things turned up. You know, when it was the aviation portion of the game moving to rank 8, they added a ton of premiums, which basically ended up annihilating the matchmaker, and they also got annihilated by the F-16s and the MiG-29s, which were around the place. There's no reason why this one won't get creamed by rank 8s as well, unless you play it like you know what you're doing. So, if you're okay with going into a match with a disadvantage, but also knowing that you'll get more rewards out of it, it's not a bad vehicle. But just be careful before you purchase. As always, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. I'd just like to thank Brendan Quinn, Vilneus, Character Fuel, Juan the Panda, Carrion Crow, Gus Irenicus, Pyman, Merciless Reaper, Orange Tail, Teddy, Daniel Stanton, Moxie, B. Young, Bareen, Peter Grayling, Alan Hacker, Sem Alslan, Uncle Bean, and Derek R, and also Lafouche for supporting the channel.